Britney Maynard has written an essay at CNN.com and made a YouTube video along with her husband arguing for her right to do what she plans to do November 1st in Oregon, take a lethal dose of pills and die as she battles brain cancer. Well, Kara Tippets is another brain cancer patient who wrote a response to Britney begging her to rethink her decision. And Kathy has called in, identifying herself as a friend of Kara Tippets. Hi, Kathy. Thanks very much for joining us. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. You're a good friend of Kara's?
I am a good friend of Kara's. I'm very blessed to know her and have a daily friendship with her.
Wow.
And yesterday when she wrote the letter, I texted her and I said, I have a feeling you're going to be
talked about
heard around the world
right.
on this one.
Well, I'm glad I found this story, and I'm glad we're able to talk about it today. From your perspective as somebody going through this journey with your friend, tell us a little bit about some of your personal feelings and what you think about Kara's letter of response.
I think her letter is amazing. I think it's very gentle, yet to the point.
Yep.
Having just recently watched my mom die of cancer and the gift that her choice to go through suffering brought to our family, and the gift that she hung in there until her last dying breath, and what that meant to us, and the fear that took away from us about death, and how it increased our faith. Watching Kara embrace this journey, even though she wishes it weren't her story.
Right.
For those of us who know her, it has just been awe-inspiring.
Yeah, and that's it's so funny you mentioned that phrase, use that phrase, embrace this journey, because that was my wife's her experience. My Denise understood that this is what she was going to experience and go through, and it just would have never. I know her. It would have never crossed her mind to alter what was going to happen. That was in the hands for her of the doctors and God.
Well, and I think that's the whole perspective. You either believe that our life is God-given, our life is not our own, it was given to us, by our Creator.
Right.
And the one thing about Kara that I also want to emphasize is that in embracing her suffering, she has borne out the fact that God meets her every day in grace,
right,
and gives her grace to live the day.
Right.
So, just saying I'm going to suffer, it's going to be awful just because I believe in God, that's not the case. When you have faith, God meets you in your suffering.
I think your words are perfect, and I completely agree with you. But having said that, knowing that we feel the way we feel together and agree with Kara, do you think the government should step in and continue to say that what Britney wants to do should be illegal in 45 states, or do you think that should be an option left to the individual?
Mike, this is one time that I fall on the side of the government. I wish they would protect life of the unborn. I wish they would step in and protect life in all the different circumstances that it needs to be protected. I'm shouting hallelujah for once. The government's doing what they need to do.
Yeah, the government's doing the right thing. Kathy, you've changed. You're right. You're absolutely right, and I thank you for your perspective, because I think you're entirely right. If the government doesn't fight for the sanctity of life, then what's the purpose of having any kind of government whatsoever?
Absolutely.
Thanks, Kathy. God bless you, and please share our prayers and best wishes for Kara. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much. Kathy said it all. That's as powerful as it gets, and that's my whole point. And you know what? Kathy just sort of woke me up into saying, something, Gallagher? Then don't just talk the talk. Walk the walk. If you believe that life matters, and if you believe in the sanctity of life, and you've preached it for years, and you've spoken about it on your radio show, and when you give speeches and you give interviews, and if you believe it, then believe it. And life does matter, and you don't get to say when you turn life off. You don't get to decide when somebody else dies, and you shouldn't decide when you die yourself. And believe me, again, as somebody down the journey as a caregiver, the drugs that they give and administer are very compassionate. They're effective. I don't believe my wife suffered. And I was with her in her dying moments, and she died in my arms, and it was something that I will carry with me in my heart for the rest of my life. And that wasn't Denise's decision. That was God's to bring her home.